And on another occasion, 2 years later, he asked me the same thing in the house where he stayed in 1956 in Australia. He again asked me, "Do you love me?" And I said, "Yes, Bob." And he said, "Would you throw your 3 children into the ocean if I told you to?" And I said, "Yes, Barbara." I mean, in other words, I'm just sort of conveying that I felt that there was no question. One obeyed him in whatever he asked. And at the same time, it also, you could say I'm conveying that it wasn't always just as easy as walking the streets of a city naked. In a sense, that was nothing. How are you going? Are you all right? You all right? Yeah, and so then there were, I can't tell you the sequence of the interview, but there were things like he told me to spread his message of love and truth. And this was the first time, and it didn't occur to me, of course, I said, "Yes, Barbara." But in retrospect, it seemed so strange to ask somebody who was so inarticulate, who was so unable to talk to any more than one person. And in general, I used to always get the other person talking in their interviews. In my interviews with people as a psychologist, I didn't have to say very much. I'd have to simply make note of what they were telling me.
So in 1954, could you elaborate more about your stay in Mehrabad? After your personal interviews. Personal interview is only simple, just asking, like, you tell me and you go into the Ahmednagar streets naked. Apart from that, are there any questions to
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's quite a long
Yes. Yeah. So Barbara said, he told me to spread his message, Dave. Then he another instant he said to Francis, that house that you're building at Beacon Hill, that is the place in Sydney, that house that you're building, hand it over to Bill. Now, what was so remarkable about that was that that £700 that I had acquired from the sale of the house that I partly built in Melbourne was, of course, to be used in buying a block of land near Francis, building again. This was the plan of action. That I wanted to move to Sydney, not to live with Francis or anything like that, but to be close to him so that I could more readily help him in the building and also to attend the meetings that he had on Maya Baba. And there was no mention, Baba never asked me, did I have money? How did I get there? What was what was my financial position? What was I earning? Nothing. But the fact was that there was nothing left of the £700. How was I going to start again? I had nothing then. There was no money left to buy a block of land and to start building. I really have no idea what I would have done, because all I could think of, I had no other thought than, I want to see Baba. I wanted to be with him. That's all. So what was amazing was that without any reference to my position and finances or anything, Baba just said, Francis, hand that house over. And that's what happened.
When Baba saw you first time?
That was the first time.
He didn't know anything about you.
He knew nothing about me. Nothing. I had written one letter to him after the New Life in 1951. Baba gave us the opportunity of writing to him, and I did write, but all I said was, Baba, about coming to Australia. Would you come to Australia sometime? Something like that, and sending my love. I never referred to what I was or what I did. And that it was only in retrospect again that I thought, isn't that amazing? That without me saying anything, Baba solved. Baba looked after us. I had a wife and 3 kids and nowhere to go. I had nothing.
Excellent. I think my memory got it.
Oh dear.
But anyway.
All right.
Try to put a hold.
As I was saying, in the interview, the interview was conducted in the west, what we could call the west room. It's the room that's below where we were sleeping, in the dormitory, which was upstairs, and Baba was seated in an easy chair, and Baba gestured when we came in, the 3 of us, as I've said. Baba gestured for us to sit, and as we sat, Baba said to Francis, "You have brought me 2 jewels," and that, as I've said, made for myself, I felt thoroughly at home, which I had already felt, but this was sort of like the icing on the cake, and the way Baba was with us made me feel anyway that he thoroughly accepted me, even though I was aware of what I was really like. And what was so wonderful was that I was so close to Baba. See, I didn't see him that clearly in the darshan program, you know, that as I described it, the day after we arrived, because he was sitting on the platform at a distance from me, and also sort of side on. I could see his. But here in the interview, I could see him directly, and just let me describe how I wrote it up then at that time. We sat cross-legged in front of him, able to look easily into his face, and hardly aware of Eric standing behind the low upholstered chair where Baba sat. The interview particularly gave me the opportunity to see and observe Baba close up, to note the soft, fine hair, the smooth, fresh skin, despite his age, the delicate line of the mouth often hidden beneath the moustache, and his eyes, his eyes, dark and light, sombre yet sparkling, dancing with 1,000 lights, a beautiful rich brown, and a look that saw me as an individual, surface and depth, and simultaneously also saw through me and beyond, giving a sense of seeing not me but the universe. When he smiled, his whole face shone like the sun, pouring warmth and vitality into one's entire being. And that is absolutely true. He only had to smile and you just felt an incredible warmth.
And you said that when you saw him first, when Baba looked at you, there's a current went through,
yes,
passed through.
a shock.
This time when you're very close, how did you feel?
No, just happy. Thoroughly at home and happy, and at the same time, I mean, it was also serious. I was intent. Baba to me, I think as I've sort of described it sometimes, in a way, in those early years, I took Baba, you could say really all through my life with Baba, was that I took it as though it was like an advanced university course. If you like, not even a PhD, beyond a PhD. Yeah, and to me, this was important. This was so important.
Talk about his eyes.
And yes, his eyes. Yes, as I said about I described it with the eyes when I read that passage, and at the same time, it was sort of so wonderful because his eyes, when he looked at one, he looked as though he was addressing you. I mean, he was seeing you like I'm seeing you now. One to one, no question. But the eyes moved. It never stayed. They were always constantly moving, and the flashes and the movement made me think. Again, it might sound fanciful, but that was the impression I had. Was like light on moving water.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it was a wonderful time. Probably the most intimate time, in the sense of the closeness that I had to Baba, and the length of time that I could actually sit and observe and make note.
So what is the difference in that occasion? What is the difference seeing a Hollywood hero who is very beautiful to a Baba who is also very beautiful? Do you felt spiritual, divine, and those kinds of feelings when you saw Baba?
It was